there is a battle most people never see. It is not fought with weapons, nor does it happen in public. It happens silently inside the mind, inside the spirit, inside the everyday choices that slowly shape who you become. Many people walk through life believing they are free, yet they are driven by habits, fears, wounds, and invisible chains they have never questioned. The tragedy is not that darkness exists. The tragedy is when someone lives inside it for so long that it begins to feel normal. That is when the soul becomes vulnerable. This message is not meant to scare you, it is meant to wake you, because awareness is power, and the truth is, chosen ones, those with depth, sensitivity, purpose, and potential, are often the ones who suffer silently the most. They feel more, they see more, they question more, and if they do not protect their inner world, they become targets of their own unresolved pain. These are not mystical signs. These are psychological, emotional, and spiritual warning signals that your inner light is being suffocated. 1. You no longer recognize yourself. One of the earliest and most painful signs is when you wake up one day and realize you are no longer the person you used to be. This realization does not arrive with drama or noise, it comes quietly, often in moments of stillness when you catch yourself staring into space or moving through your day without any real presence. You feel disconnected from your own identity, as if the person you once knew has slowly faded into the background. The passions that once fueled you no longer ignite anything inside. The goals that once felt alive now feel distant, unrealistic, or irrelevant. Even your values, the internal compass that once guided your decisions, feel blurred, diluted, or compromised. You begin to operate on autopilot, waking up, functioning, fulfilling obligations, but not truly living. Life becomes something you endure rather than experience. This loss of self is not sudden. It does not happen overnight. It unfolds slowly, quietly, through small compromises that seem harmless at first. You silence your truth to keep peace. You ignore your needs to meet expectations. You betray your instincts to avoid conflict. You tolerate what feels wrong because leaving feels harder. Over time, these choices accumulate. Each time you choose survival over authenticity, a small part of you withdraws. Eventually, you may realize that you have shaped your life around who others needed you to be, rather than who you truly are. When someone loses connection with their authentic self, they become easier to manipulate, easier to control, and easier to drain. Without a clear sense of identity, boundaries weaken. Decisions are driven by fear, approval, or habit rather than alignment. You may find yourself saying yes when your soul is screaming no. You may struggle to articulate what you want, what you need, or what you believe. This is not because you lack intelligence or strength, but because prolonged self-abandonment erodes self-trust. The enemy here is not a being, it is not external, it is the erosion of self-awareness, it is the gradual disconnection from your inner truth. When self-awareness fades, life begins to feel hollow. You may look successful on the outside while feeling empty within. You may appear functional while feeling lost internally. Recognizing this disconnection is not a failure, it is a wake-up call. Awareness is the first step back to yourself. The moment you notice that you no longer recognize who you are, is the moment the return begins. 2. You are always exhausted, even after rest. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep cannot fix. It lingers no matter how many hours you rest, no matter how much you try to slow down. This exhaustion does not live in the muscles or bones. It lives deeper, in the emotional and spiritual layers of your being. It is the fatigue that comes from carrying too much for too long without relief. You may wake up already tired. You may feel drained before the day even begins. Even activities that once energized you now feel heavy or overwhelming. This exhaustion is often the result of constant overthinking. Your mind rarely rests. It replays conversations, anticipates problems, and searches endlessly for answers. You may suppress emotions to remain functional, telling yourself to stay strong, to keep going, to not fall apart. You may spend years people-pleasing, minimizing your needs, and showing up for others while neglecting yourself. Each unexpressed emotion, each unresolved wound, adds weight to your inner world. When the mind is constantly at war with itself, the body follows. Your nervous system stays in a state of alert, even when there is no immediate danger. This chronic internal tension drains your energy reserves. You may feel heavy, unmotivated, or disconnected from life. Tasks that once felt simple now feel monumental. Joy feels distant, not because it is unavailable, but because you are too depleted to access it. This exhaustion is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of prolonged strength without healing. You have endured, adapted, and survived for so long that your system has not had the space to release what it has been carrying. The body and soul are asking for restoration, not more discipline. Rest in this context is not just sleep, it is emotional honesty, boundaries, and permission to feel. Until the inner world is tended to, no amount of external rest will feel enough. 3. You self-sabotage opportunities. Chosen ones often carry deep unconscious wounds. These wounds do not always announce themselves clearly. Instead, they hide beneath behavior, patterns, and reactions that seem confusing even to the person experiencing them. When these wounds go unaddressed, they quietly shape choices. You may find yourself repeatedly sabotaging opportunities that could lead to growth, fulfillment, or stability. You procrastinate on dreams you deeply care about. You hesitate when it is time to step forward. You talk yourself out of chances that could change your life. You may push away healthy relationships, feeling uncomfortable with consistency, respect, or emotional safety. Chaos may feel more familiar than peace. You may choose what is known over what is healthy, even when the known causes pain. This is not because you desire suffering, but because your nervous system has learned to associate familiarity with safety. Pain becomes predictable. Healing feels uncertain. Self-sabotage often appears as rational thinking. You convince yourself that you are not ready, that the timing is wrong, that you will try later. You may downplay your abilities, doubt your worth, or convince yourself that success will bring more pressure than joy. Over time, potential gets buried quietly, not through failure, but through avoidance. The mind seeks what it knows, even when what it knows is harmful. This is how unhealed wounds protect themselves. Growth threatens old survival patterns. Healing demands change, and change to a wounded mind feels dangerous. Recognizing self-sabotage is not about blame, it is about compassion. It is an invitation to heal the parts of you that learn to survive by staying small. 4. You feel unworthy of good things. One of the most dangerous internal lies is the belief that you do not deserve happiness, peace, love, or success. This belief rarely appears out of nowhere. It is often planted through years of trauma, rejection, criticism, neglect, or emotional invalidation. Each painful experience reinforces the idea that something is wrong with you, that you are not enough, that you must earn love through sacrifice or suffering. Over time, this belief becomes internalized. It shapes expectations. You stop imagining a life that feels good. You stop hoping for better treatment. You may even feel uncomfortable when good things happen, waiting for them to be taken away. You tolerate disrespect because it feels familiar. You accept less because you believe asking for more is selfish or unrealistic. This belief dims your inner light quietly, not through attack, but through self-abandonment. You may downplay your needs, silence your desires, and shrink your dreams to avoid disappointment. You may feel guilty for wanting peace. You may believe struggle is your destiny. This internal narrative keeps you trapped, not because it is true, but because it feels convincing. Healing begins when this lie is questioned. Worthiness is not earned, it is inherent. You were deserving before the pain. You are deserving even now. The belief that you are unworthy is not your truth, it is a wound speaking, and wounds can heal. 5. You are addicted to distraction. Endless scrolling, constant noise, overconsumption, avoidance. These behaviors often look ordinary, even harmless, especially in a world that rewards busyness and constant stimulation. Yet beneath these habits lies a deeper pattern, an unconscious attempt to escape inner discomfort. Distraction becomes a shield, a way to stay mentally occupied so that deeper feelings never have the chance to surface. Silence feels unbearable, not because silence itself is dangerous, but because silence removes the layers of noise that keep unresolved emotions hidden. In stillness, the mind begins to wander inward, and for someone carrying unprocessed pain, that inward journey can feel threatening. Distraction takes many forms. It is not only social media or entertainment. It can be excessive work, constant conversations, overthinking, compulsive planning, or filling every moment with activity. Anything that prevents you from being alone with your thoughts can become a tool of avoidance. Over time, this creates a dependency. You may feel restless when things slow down. You may feel anxious without background noise. You may instinctively reach for stimulation the moment discomfort arises. This is not a failure of discipline. It is a survival response learned through experience. When someone avoids silence, it is often because silence demands honesty. In silence, emotions rise to the surface. Regret, grief, fear, anger, and longing begin to speak. These emotions are not trying to harm you, they are asking to be acknowledged. But when they have been ignored for too long, their presence can feel overwhelming. Distraction numbs the discomfort temporarily, creating a false sense of relief. Yet the relief never lasts. The more emotions are avoided, the louder they become beneath the surface. Over time, this cycle creates inner emptiness. The mind becomes overstimulated while the soul becomes starved. You may consume endlessly yet feel unsatisfied. You may stay busy yet feel unfulfilled. Distraction pulls attention outward while neglecting the inner world, where healing and meaning reside. A soul cannot grow in constant avoidance, because growth requires reflection, presence, and emotional honesty. Breaking free from distraction does not require removing all stimulation at once. It begins with awareness, noticing why you reach for distraction, noticing what you are trying not to feel. Learning to sit with discomfort, even briefly, is an act of courage. Silence is not the enemy, it is the doorway back to yourself. What you avoid is not there to destroy you, it is there to heal you. 6. You no longer trust your intuition. Your intuition is your internal compass, the quiet voice that senses truth before logic explains it. It communicates through subtle feelings, inner nudges, and bodily signals. When functioning properly, intuition helps you recognize danger, alignment, and emotional truth. But when someone has been repeatedly gaslit, manipulated, or emotionally invalidated, that inner guidance system begins to malfunction. Each time your feelings were dismissed or your perception was questioned, you learned that trusting yourself was unsafe. Over time, self-doubt becomes automatic. You begin to second-guess your thoughts, emotions, and decisions. You look outward for validation before trusting your own judgment. You may constantly ask others what they think, fearing that your own perspective is flawed. This creates confusion because no one else lives inside your body or carries your experiences. When intuition is ignored long enough, it grows quiet, not because it disappears, but because it is no longer being listened to. This loss of trust leads to repeated misalignment. You may stay in situations that feel wrong but struggle to explain why. You may ignore red flags because you doubt your perception. You may make decisions based on fear or approval rather than inner truth. Over time, this deepens disconnection and creates a sense of being lost. The damage to intuition is not permanent. It is learned, not innate. Rebuilding trust begins with small acts of listening, paying attention to how your body reacts in certain environments, honoring discomfort rather than dismissing it, allowing yourself to say this doesn't feel right without needing external permission. Reclaiming intuition is one of the most powerful acts of healing. It restores self-trust, clarity, and alignment. Your intuition is not broken, it has been silenced. And anything silenced can learn to speak again when it is finally heard. 7. You feel emotionally numb. Not sadness, not anger, just emptiness. Emotional numbness is often misunderstood as calmness or emotional strength, but it is neither. It is a shutdown response. When emotions become too intense or overwhelming, the nervous system protects itself by reducing sensation altogether. This state develops gradually, especially in those who have endured prolonged stress, trauma, or emotional neglect. When numb, you may feel detached from people, experiences, and even your own body. Joy feels distant, pain feels muted, life loses its depth and color. You may go through the motions of living without truly experiencing it. This numbness is not peace, it is disconnection. Emotional numbness often develops after repeated emotional overload. When feelings were too much and there was no safe outlet, the mind learned to shut them down. While this protected you at one time, it now limits your ability to connect, love, and feel meaning. A soul that cannot feel cannot fully live. Numbness can make you question yourself. You may wonder if you are broken or incapable of emotion. But numbness is not absence, it is suppression. The emotions are still there, waiting beneath the surface for safety to return. Healing numbness requires patience. Feeling does not return all at once. It comes in waves, slowly, when the nervous system learns that it is safe again. This process requires compassion, not force. Emotional numbness is not a flaw. It is a sign that your system has endured too much for too long. 8. You have forgotten your purpose. The final and most tragic sign is when life feels meaningless. Not dramatic sadness, just emptiness. Days blur together. Time passes without direction. You wake up, exist, and sleep, but something essential feels missing. Your potential feels buried. Your gifts feel unused. You may sense that you were meant for more, yet feel disconnected from any clear direction. This loss of purpose is not permanent. It is a symptom of disconnection. When survival becomes the priority, purpose often gets pushed aside. Trauma narrows focus to immediate safety, leaving long-term meaning behind. Over time, this creates a life that feels hollow. Purpose is not something you invent, it is something you remember. It lives beneath fear, fatigue, and disconnection. The moment you notice its absence is the moment the return begins. Awareness is the first step, meaning returns through presence, healing, and reconnection with self. You are not lost forever. You are paused, and pauses are not endings, they are invitations to begin again. If this message found you at the exact moment you needed it, understand this. Awareness is not your downfall. It is your awakening. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not beyond repair. You are becoming conscious. And consciousness is where transformation begins. This is the Chosen Seer channel. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, because messages like this are designed to guide you back to yourself. And for those who received this message at the divine timing they needed most, type 1111 in the comment section. Not a superstition, but as a symbol of alignment, awakening, and intention. Your healing journey begins with recognition. And today, you recognized. Thank you for watching.